Welcome to A Walk in My Stilettos, where our goal is to help you walk in your greatness. I'm your host, Makini Smith. Hey, Faith Walkers. Thank you for joining us in the A Walk in My Stilettos podcast, where we have conversations with amazing women that are letting us step into their shoes. I help women to own their stories, conquer their fears so they can reach their goals. But I get inspired when I see another woman succeeding, and even more inspired by her backstory and her mindset on how she got there. So today's guest is about to bless us with her testimony. And since you're already here, you may as well subscribe. Today we have Natalie Wilson. She is the founder of High Heal Diaries, a platform to support women on their journey of personal growth, self-love, healing, and acceptance. Natalie is a mother, a wife, a motivational speaker, a certified coach, practitioner, a licensed paralegal, an event host, a talk show host, a philanthropist, a blogger, and a 3-time breast cancer survivor. She hosts an annual fundraiser called A Walk a Mile in My Shoes, supporting women one step at a time. Please welcome to the show, Natalie Wilson.
Hello, hello. Hi, Makini.
Hi, Natalie. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being open enough to come on and share your journey with us.
Absolutely. Without doing that, women need the support, and they need to hear the testimony of others in order to get that courage up to speak their own voice as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting in a coffee shop months ago, and I went to walk actually to the restroom, and they have this board where they allow people to post, their business cards and flyers. And my eyes were automatically always drawn to anything stiletto related. And I had seen the flyer for your fundraiser, Walk a Mile in My Shoes. And I was like, oh, I don't know who this is, but I need to look into her. And I immediately followed you. Yes, it worked. It worked for me. You got me. I'm hooked.
Good.
So I immediately followed you on Instagram and started to learn more about your story and knew that I had to have you on the podcast at some point. So thank you so much for saying yes.
Thank you. Thank you for seeking me out. And I'm happy to be here right now.
Awesome.
Definitely. I'm so happy that you came across my flyer. I've heard so much about you, and I'm honored right now to be speaking with you.
Awesome. Stars aligned.
Yes, for sure.
I believe that as women, we have all these different titles that we go by, but a title that is not given enough significance is our name, because our names have meaning. So as an icebreaker question, I love to ask the women that come on, do you know what your name means?
I think I was born on Christmas Day, to be honest. I feel like that's what it means. I feel silly right now at my age to not know what the meaning of my name is.
Listen, there are so many people that don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. There are so many people that don't know, and there are people that did know at one point and forgot, because how often do we really ask that, right?
Right.
Yeah, I Googled it, and the meaning is the birthday of the Lord, so yes.
You see, I knew it. Yep.
Awesome.
And it's funny that we're talking about that, because it's very poignant right now with this conversation that we're having. Not that I feel that I'm anything like the Lord. I mean, I try to walk in my faith as best as possible, but born on the day of the Lord, to me, is very touching, very important to me. I mean, what better honor to have than to be born on the day that, well, I'm not born on that day. We're not born on Christmas Day, but to have my name meaning that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And every time someone says your name, they're affirming that.
Thank you, Mom, Dad.
Right. And sometimes our parents don't even realize when they name us what they're doing or the intention that they're setting for our lives, right?
Or maybe they did.
True. Very true.
Maybe
absolutely. Very true. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. You know what? Even though you say that, like when I was having my kids and I was looking into what I was going to name them, the meanings were actually very important to me. So I know that intentionally, yes, I did. I don't know if my parents did with me, but yes.
Right. Yeah,
yes.
For sure.
So I like to go backwards before I go forwards. So I would love to know, Natalie, what did you want to be when you were a little girl?
A maid.
Okay.
Honestly.
And what inspired that?
The honest truth. Well, okay, so my mom, single mom predominantly, she had her struggles, and we, I had a couple stepfathers, but she predominantly raised 4 children on her own. But our house was immaculate. No one would ever know that she had young children. And I love that. I think from a young age, you're born with your personality and your, your story inbred in you from the moment, you're conceived. And I think I was born type A personality. I was just that clean freak, organized, and it's really stayed with me throughout my life. But I always loved being in clean spaces. I loved being in organized spaces. And I always wanted to do that. And I always wanted to make other people's spaces clean and organized.
I love that.
That really, brings it all the way to here and now and to what I'm doing. But I guess it was, the beginning was way back when I wanted to be a maid.
That's awesome. I actually read something somewhere about the tidiness and the cleanliness of your space says a lot about what's going on in your head. And the fact that you're out here helping others to heal and you're inspiring and doing all those amazing things, but you wanted to be able to organize and clean from when you were a little girl.
Yes, absolutely. This conversation is, I'm sitting here thinking about it and I'm shaking my head. And that the question was a great question, because now when I think about it, I'm like, wow, that started from back then.
And that's why I love to ask that, because sometimes there are women that come on and what they wanted to be as a child totally relates to where they are now, or it was the startup or something that inspired where they are now. And there are some women that didn't see the correlation. There was a woman who looked up to, there was a female hip hop artist that she looked up to back in the day. And that female hip hop artist started doing radio shows and interviewing. And this woman is now a journalist. And she didn't realize until now, based on the correlation, by asking her what she wanted to be as a little girl.
Right. Yep.
So,
well, here I am. I'm not a maid, but I'm still trying to help clean up people's lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Share with us the story of how you got to where you are today, doing what you're doing now.
A little bit of background information about, again, I started off with my home life, and my mom, fabulous woman. She's 71 now, and you would never look at her and think so, but she's that young, energetic 71, energetic grandma, very involved, raised us right with these, firm beliefs and morals. We were born and raised Roman Catholic. So always had a strong faith behind us, these guiding principles of, do good, live good, everything comes full circle. And we lived a good life. Things kind of took a turn for the worse when my mom and my stepfather separated, and we were kind of scattered all about. The 4 children, we weren't children anymore. I was 16 at that point and staying with a friend, my mom's friend. My mom and my younger sister were staying with another friend. My brother was staying with his friend, and my older sister was staying with another family friend. And we were kind of separated. And that's kind of when life started to spiral downwards and getting myself into some trouble. And my husband came into my life, and I call him my savior because, he really stopped me from continuing on with that downhill spiral. And he's just such a good person. Just like, there's nothing I can say that he does wrong, apart from he's not a saint. Nobody is. But I mean, being with someone for 30 years, of course I have my complaints, right? But things started to get back on track. And then when I was 29, my younger sister was 24, and she was shot and killed.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I've never thought in my life that I'd be able to, because I'm such an emotional person. Like, I'm just so sensitive to all issues that I can cry at the drop of a dime. But it's because I feel deeply for people. And I never thought I'd ever be able to deal with something like that. And so when that happened, and every day was just a miserable day, I cried all day, cried every day. And we buried her, and it's an unsolved murder. So we have no final answers. And of course, at that point, not that I didn't know this already, but, I started looking at life differently and appreciating the little things. Although little things are big things, I started appreciating them more. And then I realized that, this pain doesn't go away, but it becomes easier as you go along, as the days and weeks and months go along. And as you support one another, it becomes easier to bear. Never forget, but it just becomes, you learn to cope. And no sooner than, I'd say within a year after that, my grandfather died in Jamaica. And then about 6 months after that, my uncle died, an uncle that I was really close to, of a brain tumor.
Wow.
Healthiest man you could ever find. Worked for United Nations in Eritrea. And we were really close. And just here we are with this news. And I was there when he died.
Wow.
And if my sister's death wasn't enough to solidify the fact that we need to live right and do right and love one another, then having my grandfather and my uncle die so soon thereafter really, really hit it all home. And got pregnant because I wanted to, give my mom something to look forward to being happy about again.
Mm-hmm.
And we got pregnant with our second child, and I was pregnant for about 4 months and then lost it.
Oh,
and
sorry to hear that.
took another 4 months. Yeah, thank you. Took another 4 months to get pregnant again. And then, it happens to a lot of women. So it's not news that people are going to be like, oh, wow, sorry. I mean, I appreciate your condolences, but
Mm-hmm.
it happens so often. And until it happens to you, though, you don't understand the gravity and the severity of how that feels. It's this living being that you're growing and nurturing in your body, and you've become attached to it. And then now you have to lay it to rest, or it's no longer going to be yours. These plans that you had is no longer going to be. So we tried, soon thereafter, and got pregnant again. And there came our second child 5 months later. And the Makiti, no word of a lie, if I didn't believe in reincarnation then, I so definitely believe in it. I believed in it once my second daughter was born, because Paris, her name is, came into this world, and she is everything that my sister was.
Wow.
She looks like her. She acts like her. She has a personality, temperament, everything like her. We fight like how me and my sister fought.
I have goosebumps right now.
Yes. And so, that, like I said, I already had a strong faith, but it just was growing and growing and building. And all these things happening made me realize that God is so real. He really is.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because my father or my priest or my pastor or the church says so, but because I'm experiencing him.
Yes.
And so then I had my son. So my daughter was 3 when I had our son. Mm-hmm. 5 months after he was born, I felt a lump in my breast. And I had stopped nursing him probably about 3 months. Normally I nurse my kids for about, 6, 7 to 9 months. But this time around, I was like, I don't know. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, it's coming close to Christmas. He was born September 11th, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And coming close to Christmas, we have these 2 other children. I'm busy. This baby's nursing. He loves one breast more than the other. And I'm like, okay, I'm tired of being attached to this rocking chair with this baby on my breast.
Mm-hmm.
So let's change this up a little bit. So I decided to bottle feed him, and God was working, because if I had not done that and had my breasts go back down to their normal size, I would not have felt that lump at the time that I did. Mm. And I went into the doctor right away, got an ultrasound and mammogram right away, and they came back saying that they were nothing. I was like, okay, well, this doesn't feel like nothing, because I don't have fibrous breasts. I'm not one of those women that have, a lot of women have fibrous breasts, or at certain times of the month they feel lumpy.
Yes.
I never had breasts like that. So I asked for a second opinion, and the doctor had said, come back in 6 months and we'll take it out again. We'll take out the lump. The lump came out and turned out to be high-grade, aggressive growing ductal carcinoma in situ.
Wow.
So a lot of women will know it as DCIS. So it's an early stage cancer, but it was HER2 positive, which is estrogen receptor, and ER positive. So our breast cancer most of the breast cancers are estrogen fed. Fortunately and unfortunately for women, it makes us what we are. We are high in estrogen. But a lot of the products that we ingest also are high in estrogen.
Right.
Milk, dairy, like all that stuff. So my breast cancer was a high grade aggressive growing ER positive cancer. And had it not been detected when it was, it could have metastasized very quickly.
Do you see how important it is for you to know your body, and you saying that it's not nothing?
Absolutely. I just knew. I was like, no, I'm not going to settle for that. Mm-hmm. There's no way that I'm just going to, until it's affirmative and actually you can take it out and physically test it, I can't go by. And that's how I am with women when I speak to them now. Like, don't just let someone tell you, oh, it doesn't feel like anything, so it's nothing.
Right.
I'm like, I'm like, no, sister, go
Yeah.
get that taken care of.
Yeah.
So the lump came out and is what it was. And of course was devastating. I was by myself. My husband didn't come to that appointment with me because it was a follow-up appointment 2 weeks after my lumpectomy. So I thought, I'm good. I can go by myself and just getting my stitches out. Right. And didn't expect to hear this news. That was the beginning of that part of my journey. So we have, all the things leading up to this now, the death and birth of my children. And it was like God preparing me. When I look back at it all, I realized that that's exactly what he was doing, because now here I am with this personal journey, this personal struggle. And although everything else was personal, but this is physically happening to me.
Right.
How am I going to deal with this? Now my direct children, my husband, my immediate family are affected by it because of me. Right. And that's where it all started. And I went through multiple surgeries. I ended up having a double mastectomy, although it was only in one breast. I told the doctor, she said, we can do this, Natalie. You have this lump. We took it out. We know what it is. She gave me an MRI. And with the MRI, it showed that there were other suspicious areas around the margin area where the lump was taken out, which means that there's a chance of the breast cancer returning because there's some other little microscopic. So I said, I know my personality. I'm not the person that's going to sit there and wait for it to happen so I can then be reactive. I want to be proactive. So she said, we can take out more tissue, or we can go and do a mastectomy and then rebuild you. And then when she gave me this one key word, she said, subcutaneous mastectomy. I said, well, what is this? It's where you leave your nipple and you go in and take out 95% of your breast tissue and you move forward, you rebuild. And that really helped me make my decision. I was like, okay, I can have my nipples still. Okay, let's go. She said, go home and talk to your husband about it and then come back and let me know. I was like, I'm good. Honestly, I love my husband. I appreciate his opinion, but this is my body, and I'm going to make a decision for me. And I'm going to tell you what I want to do now. So we set the appointment to do the surgery, and I had a double mastectomy, started the reconstruction process over. And long story short, I had a lot of complications with my reconstruction. My breasts just weren't cooperating. I had a lot of healing issues. I have an underlying blood condition, but they don't even know what it is right now. But I have a hard time healing. My blood doesn't clot easily. So I formed hematomas. I had 2 blood transfusions. I formed a lot of scar tissue, which, squished the implants and caused a lot of pain in my muscle. And I had to go in to take out the scar tissue. So I had about 10 surgeries before she decided to send me to a specialist.
Wow.
The specialist added what they call human cadaver tissue to my breast muscle in order to form a hammock, because by this time, my breast muscle was similar to like a cheesecloth. So it was not holding this implant. So you can imagine I've already had small breasts to begin with. My husband used to joke, and no offense to anybody who has small breasts, but we used to have this running joke that, I must have nursed like 10 children prior to him because my breasts were so small. I was like, how dare you? And it was a joke, but, I had small, insufficient breasts. So, and then we're messing with them surgery after surgery. By this time, they were not holding anything. So she sent me to a doctor at St. Michael's, and she started a process of grafting fat from different areas of my body to the breast, added the human cadaver tissue, and I was on my way to finally about to close this chapter of my life until my 13th surgery in 2016 is when she detected that there was more cancer.
Oh, wow.
So here I am at my last surgery thinking, okay, yay, I get to close this chapter of my life. No more surgeries, no more being put under, no more worrying, if I'm not going to come out of this surgery alive. Every time I go into surgery, I worried about that. Like every time I said goodbye to my children, my husband, and I, followed the nurses down the corridor to the operation room, I wondered if it was going to be my last. And now she's telling me that I had cancer again. It was devastating. It was hard to hear. I quickly got out of that flight mode and I got into this fight mode where I'm like, okay, what do we do next? What's next? What are we going to do here? Yeah. And I find that that's what happens with me is that And it might be too part of my personality that, again, I'm a very sensitive, emotional person. And, how could you not feel emotional about something like this? But then after I go through those motions, I'm like, okay, let's whip out of it and figure out what we're going to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went in for surgery again, and she fixed up what she needed to fix up, got rid of the cancer. I had complications because of that, because of the amounts of tissue she had to take out in order to get rid of oh, by the way, I didn't even say that it was nipple cancer.
Oh, goodness.
So it's very important. I don't know how I can forget to say that, because of the fact that here it is that I was so happy about being able to keep my nipples.
Right.
And here it is now, it was nipple cancer. And as a side note, no one ever told me that there was such a thing as nipple cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I was never given these precautions that if you do keep your nipples, by the way, this is a possibility.
Right.
They call it Paget's disease of the nipple cancer. So, and I never came across it in all of my research, because, I was one of those people that were good about researching information in order to be informed enough to ask the right questions of the doctors.
Yeah.
So didn't know, and here it is, this is nipple cancer. So she went in, she took off a great piece of my nipple and areola, and sewed me back up, and my breast was just not having it. It was like, I can't do this. There's too much going on in here. I've been cut open too many times, and I started to literally burst open at the seams and formed like holes. They call them pressure ulcers in my breast, and she had to run me back into emergency surgery, and she took away the ulcers and the holes, and she kept them away and started to sew me back up. But she decided that while she was there, she was going to just test some more of the tissue to make sure that she got everything. So again, like deja vu, I went back 2 weeks later to get my results. She told me that I had some additional cancer that was kind of hiding underneath the surface areas of the skin. And it was just kind of like a brain rocker, because here I'm thinking, okay,
it's like Groundhog Day.
I chose to do the mastectomies, thinking that's going to take care of my issue, right? I was blessed enough that my cancer was caught early enough that I didn't have to have chemo or radiation. And also because I chose to go so radical and remove the breast. Right. I didn't have to have chemo and radiation. So I thought, I'm going to take care of it by removing my breast, right? Well, not so much. And so she sent me up for the surgery in order to get rid of the second cancer within 2 months. And at this point, we had to remove the whole reconstructed breast. Wow. So it was like going backwards and starting from the beginning. And by this time, it was in 2016. I always laugh and say, Drake made that song for me, Summer 16, playing dirty, not clean, right? Didn't play clean with me at all, I'd say. And I had to lose that reconstructed breast all over again. So it brings me to a lot of points, Nakini, because at that point I said, okay, I'm done. I need to focus. My body's tired. My mind is tired. Emotionally, I'm spent. Everybody's spent. I'm back to square one right now. I need to make sure we get this cancer under control and make sure that it's not anywhere else. We had another MRI. I sought out other opinions, other oncologists, for them to let me know, whether or not I need to do chemo radiation now at this point. And after the test, they said that I didn't. So I said, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break for this, and I'm going to really just think. I'm going to pray. I'm going to do some real good soul searching and see do I need to do this reconstruction? Why am I doing this reconstruction? What is my reasons really? And on top of that, I started to do a lot more reading. I had a lot more time on my hands because I took some time off of work, and, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was having a lot of visitors, and I just started feeling like I've learned so much. I've been beat down so much, but in the interim, I've also learned a lot about me as a human being, as how much perseverance I have, right, and how much I was able to overcome adversity. But I was still at this stage where I wasn't quite sure whether or not I was that strong person that I've been purporting to be. You know what I mean? I've gone through all these surgeries and I've bounced back through them, but I was like, okay, I'm here, but I'm feeling these grave emotions right now, these complicated emotions. What are they all? And I started reading, and I came across this article by Dr. Gail Goodwin, and it was about the 10 stages of healing.
Yes.
And as I read them, I don't know if you know about them, but as I read them and I started reading them in detail, I was like, well, this is what I've been going through all these years. And I'm going to just number them off. I'm not going to go to detail, but they start with shock, denial, pain, bargaining, depression. There's surrender. Like, okay, God, here, I give myself up to you. I can't control this anymore. This keeps coming back at me. I don't know why. I thought I'm doing all the right things, but it keeps coming back. I'm all yours. Then you go to recovery. You get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm going to let him. I'm going to put it in his hands. I'm going to let him deal with it. And I'm going to be fine with whatever the outcome is. So you have this rebirth, which is next. And then you go to moving on. And I think I became more of that moving on type of person about the year 2017, where I'm like, okay, how am I going to move past this? Because I can't let breast cancer and having had it 3 times define who I am, define my life. And then I started to feel this overwhelming sense of wanting to give back, wanting to teach these women what I've gone through so that women don't have to go what I've gone through. Teach women how to see and look at all the different telltale signs that could lead them up to possibly having this one day. But let's learn to be proactive instead of reactive. And I started to feel this overwhelming feeling of philanthropy. It was so strong that I called my girlfriend. I was like, I got to do something with this. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I need to get this message out. I have so much to talk about. I have so much to share. Her and I, we sat down, we brainstormed ideas and names, and we came up with the name High Heal Diaries. And she came up with the flip on the word heal because I'm so girly, right? So girly. We got to change that word heal to healing, because this is what this is all about, is healing. And very girly, as I don't know what other word to use, but I like the bling. I like crystals and pinks and, golds and stuff like that. So hence, what caught your attraction, what caught your attention, my shoe and the logo and all that. And that's just me. That's just how I am. So that's what High Heal Diaries. I mean, that's how High Heal Diaries, that's what brought me to this point. And I do a lot with it. So
absolutely.
I always story, but here I
am. It's an inspiring story. And I say to almost every woman that comes on the show, look at how your pain birthed your purpose. There were so many points within your story where I saw pieces of my own story. And the more that you talk, the more I saw pieces of my own story. And that is the importance of sharing all of your stories. We see ourselves, the social proofing, that we can see ourselves in each other. We can relate to each other's experiences. From you talking about losing your sister, my sister passed away in 2012. And the following year, lost my grandmother in a similar manner. So having both of them be in comas until they were declared brain dead was like traumatizing, 1 year after the other. And then my cousin passing away, it was a lot. And then I as well had to deal with a miscarriage before I had my son. And very, very similar. And I went through mine alone because I didn't tell anyone other than my husband at the time that I was pregnant. So dealing with that miscarriage on my own and not talking about it, not dealing with it, and then getting pregnant later with my son. And then you talking about knowing your body when the doctors said, even though you felt something off, because 2019, I've been off healing. I had to have a hysterectomy because I had a cyst in my uterus that was abnormal. I had so many complications after surgery. Like, I'm just listening to everything that you're talking about, everything.
You're probably shaking your head saying, oh my gosh. Yeah. And that's the thing, that there are all these stories, that all these struggles and traumatizing life circumstances that we've gone through. We are so not alone, because so many women have gone through them, but they're keeping it within. They're so silent, right? Because of the stigma that is attached to struggling with certain things in your life, and nobody wants to talk about them. But when they do talk, and they find that outlet and that forum to talk to someone or talk in a group where they're supportive because they too have been through something similar, then they realize that, they're not alone. And hey, we support you. We're not going to judge you. We're a community. And that's why I needed to have a forum where it's multifaceted, High Heal Diaries, but the interviews that I do on my YouTube talk show, the women can come and talk about what they've gone through or what they're dealing with. But whether it's, again, having lost a child, whether it's divorce, whether it's emotional abuse, sexual abuse, having Crohn's disease, having breast cancer, having uterine cancer, what have you, it's your story. You have to own it first and realize this was given to you.
Yep.
Right? And once you're able to realize that this was your journey and your story, and God has given it to you for a reason,
absolutely,
and then you figure out what the reason and your purpose is with it, then you can then move on. It's almost like counseling. Like you don't go to counseling until you realize that you have an issue first, right? And then once you get there, you have an issue, but I need help in order to figure out how to get past that and how I'm going to live this better life, because I can't be stuck here.
Right.
And part of what I knew I wanted to do was to help those who want to get to a better place, but just don't know how. I help them so I became a certified coach practitioner to add to what I do with High Heal Diaries. And so I help women that are not yet at that stage where they want to talk about their issue and share it with others as a way of saying, hey, I've been there, done that. I'm here and I'm good. You can be too. They're not there yet, but they want to get there. Then I have the life coaching where they can sit and talk with me, and I can help them find their reason. I can help them find how they're going to get past it. So we work with what's called, I work with what's called the 4 R's. We recognize, we realize, we replace, and then we repeat. We recognize that you have an issue. Obviously, that's why you're here. Realize that there are things that you can do to make your life better. Realize that you want to make your life better. We replace it with positive items, positive things, positive acts, positive people. And then we keep repeating that. Because the more you repeat something positive, the better your life is going to be. Right? So it's something that I really, really love helping women when they come to me and I see the state that they're at. And then when they're done with whether it's a 5 session or a 10 session, but when they're done speaking with me and crying with me and laughing with me, and they leave here with a positive outlook on life, let me tell you, Makini, there's just no better feeling than that. There's no better job.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? I knew that I resonated with you on a deeper level, didn't know what it was, but after hearing just even that little bit of your story, because, we've both been able to take our struggles and to use it to inspire others and to build a community of support for other people. And on top of our wisdom, we both actually became certified so that we have the research and the science and all of the know-how to actually help them to get the change for the desired results that they need, so that we're making a larger impact. So I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
There's something to say about having the experiences, because actually, what better person than the person that has experienced these things and to tell you about your business and to tell you about what you're going through, right? Hey, I've been there. I understand. I get it. I might be a different person than you are. I might interpret and do things differently, but our circumstances are very similar.
Right.
But there's also something to say about having certification and the professional knowledge of how to help somebody.
Yes.
And you know what? Let's be honest. People do like to see certification.
Exactly. Because I was
People
mentoring long before I got certified, but there was something even with inside of me saying, you know what, maybe just so that they feel better, because I know what I'm doing. I've come out of the situation. I can tell them the tools that I use, but I'm going to add that extra certification to it because people like to see that, right?
Yeah, and you learn something too. Like even through my education, like I've learned that, okay, you know what, I thought I knew. I had a pretty good handle on going about how to handle and help somebody, whether it's the personal coaching or whether it was the home staging or the decorating or paralegal. But once you actually get your certification, you learn so much more.
A lot. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I would love to know, what is your largest takeaway from your experience?
Is that people are generally good. They want to do good and they want to be better. We have this, I think, this negative outtake on life because of what we see happening in the world.
Right.
And the more I got deep with people about their life circumstances, no matter what they've gone through, what they've done, they generally just want to live good and be good and live right. And it's humbling because the world we see, what we see on the news is always so negative and so bad. And it's very easy to change somebody's outlook because so much of what you see is so negative. But when you see that people have a touch of God in them, everybody has a little bit. Some people have a lot more than others, but everybody has that goodness in them. And it's just for the other person to try to help them draw it out. And if we can all do that with one another, this world would be such a better place.
You know, it's interesting. I was listening to Oprah's Super Soul Conversations podcast this morning, and Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, was on it. And she was interviewing him 10 days after his father had passed. And one of the questions she asked him was about something very similar. And his answer was exactly the same as yours.
Wow, really?
That's awesome.
No, but it's so true. Like, it's just really so true. Like, the hardest people that you talk to, and so if you just give them a dose of you and how positive you are in life, let me tell you, I have all the reason to be a negative person. I really do.
But you choose not to.
I choose not to, and it's a choice.
Yes.
Because the feeling that you have when you harbor negative emotions and when you're angry with people and everything is negative and bad, it's like the stress you feel, the pressure you feel on your chest and your heart, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And I've even gotten to the point where I've had to just put aside friends and family members that are actually causing me more stress than they are causing me happiness. And one might look at it and say, but they're a family or they're a good friend.
Doesn't matter. They're affecting your health.
It doesn't matter to me if they were that close to me and that good for my life right now. I wouldn't feel the stress that I'm feeling having them in my life.
And I wish more people would understand that. The negative thoughts, the negative feelings, and their negative actions actually affect their health physically and the energy that they put out there, and energy is transferable. So that in turn affects you.
Absolutely. I learned that and I said, you know what, I can't. And I said, just like that saying, if it was meant to be, it will come back to you. Let something go. If it's meant to be, it will come back to you. If it doesn't, then it was never meant to be.
Absolutely.
And there's been some of my family and friends that we've forged a relationship back again, and it's so much better. And then there's been those who have stayed away. And I said, because they were meant to not be in my life. And I'm well with that.
And because you're walking in your purpose right now, which is another thing that I tell people, don't be hurt or take offense when people no longer want to be around you, when you're walking in your purpose, because when you were being your authentic self, you were either attracting or repelling who is supposed to be around you.
Absolutely.
So allow that energy to repel them and keep them away, because they're not meant to be in your space.
Yeah. And I posted on my social media about, having gone through all the surgeries that I've gone through, sometimes people don't say it directly, some of maybe my relatives, like my godmother or my auntie who's like old school Jamaican, might be very forthright about their opinions, but you can often hear the intonation of, why don't you just leave yourself alone? Why don't you just leave your body the way it is? You're good, be thankful that, you don't have cancer anymore. And, this physical being is not important, like what you look like physically. And I was like, I take a minute. Sometimes I'm like, I really want to say something, but I'm not quite because that's not who I am. But hey, who are you to tell me who I am, who I need to be, what I understand, what I don't understand?
Right.
I know I'm very grateful and thankful to God for curing me. I know this. First and foremost, I would not be going forward with any of my reconstructive surgeries until I knew that was behind me. Secondly, this is my choice.
Right.
This is my body, because nobody knows the mental stress, the mental anguish, the psychological anguish, the physical anguish that one goes through when they're dealing with their own personal struggles, be it emotional or physical.
Right.
Breast cancer or any other cancer, any other ailment that affects your physical body is a combination of mental and physical anguish, because you're battling whether or not you should do right by your body and try to build it back so that you can look at yourself in the mirror and see what you saw before. But you're also battling with, am I doing it because I'm only concerned about the physical being, or am I doing it because I'm concerned about what people feel or what people think about me and how my body looks? Like, there's so many questions, and it's a mental war that you have to deal with. So I said yesterday in my quote, I said, be careful with what you say to people. Be careful with how you support them. Be careful with your comments or your lack thereof, even for that matter, because you never know how it's going to affect another person.
Yeah.
And what you've been through is significant to you. You know it. You only understand it. I don't know what it means for a war veteran to have lost a limb.
Right.
Because I didn't lose a limb. He knows it. I know what it means to lose 2 breasts. I know what it means to be on tamoxifen for 5 years and be thrown into early menopause symptoms at 35. You know, having the hot flashes and having the emotional upheaval of my hormones, which throws me into an emotional battle. And, you know, my husband and I have almost went through divorce because of it. You know, we went through counseling because I was just an evil tyrant. I can honestly say that. I went through that.
But people don't understand your experience. And like you said, people shouldn't pass judgment and use their own, I'm going to say their ignorance, because sometimes people say things out of ignorance, right? It's lack of knowledge.
Right.
They don't know your experience. They don't know your feelings. They didn't walk through it.
Absolutely.
So they say things based on their own perception or perspective, which is not yours because they didn't walk through what you walked through.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I created my social media platform, of course, for many reasons. But I'll tell you, I'm one of those people that never had social media before. I only created my YouTube and Instagram and Facebook in 2016 when I started High Heal Diaries, because I knew I had to have all platforms to get it out there. I needed people to understand that as much as you see this, Natalie Wilson, whom they look at and see, a beautiful soul. I am a beautiful soul, but don't forget that I am also scarred, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because had I not gone through what I gone through and been scarred, I would not be where I am today.
Right.
I would never take that away for a minute. I would never take away the fact that I had breast cancer, McKinney. I wouldn't, because it has made me who I am today. And it made me able to touch lives all over the world. Like, and I got an email from a family member of a woman that I was speaking to in England. And she reached out to me. We spoke on the phone. I gave her advice. She had breast cancer, and then it went into her brain and she died.
Wow.
You know, and the family reached out to me to let me know. And like that feeling, it's devastating because she passed. But the feeling that she wanted to have her children know Auntie Natalie, as she called me. And I barely knew this woman, but she felt that way about me.
Yeah. When you share your stories, you connect to people all over the world, all different types, religions, age, what have you. I totally get it.
I feel good, and I'm blessed to be here.
So how do you feel motherhood has changed how you look at life?
Oh, wow. It's changed me a lot. The way I look at life right now, well, my eldest is 20. Well, to be honest with you, I take that back. I have a stepdaughter. She's 34, going to be 35. So I've been mothering since I was very young, since I was about 16. When I started dating my husband, his daughter was 2. So I've been going through it, and I've gone through my ups and downs and learning lessons as a young mom. But as I matured and we got married and I had my first biological child, and she's 20 now, I used to be this want to protect. I used to be this mom who didn't want her to watch anything ugly on TV. No guns, no violence, no swearing. It was always Barney or Dora or something like that. And I realized that sheltering your children is not going to help you.
It doesn't help them.
Them. No, it doesn't help them. And so now I'm that mom that I will sit with them and I will show them and have them watch certain programs or certain newscasts or things happening around the world, because I want them to be educated. I want them to understand that when you walk out there in the world today, tomorrow's not promised. So you need to live right. You need to do right. You need to do right by yourself, do right by your friends and family and people out there in the world. You can walk up to somebody and not know what their circumstance is. Right. And they might turn around, and I teach them, and they've seen this happen to me. They might turn around and be negative, angry, say something, unkind to me because they're dealing with something that I don't understand. Right. So instead of me reacting in a negative way, I teach them to just, let it go. Because you really don't know what they're dealing with. I had a circumstance with a woman who was fighting for a parking spot in the wintertime about 2 years ago. And she was trying to take the spot. And I was like, you know what? Go ahead. Like, knock yourself out. And she rolled down her window and she put her head out and she's cursing at me. And I found another parking spot. I went into the store and, I went up to her. I'm like, I said, I wasn't trying to take your spot, for one. Just let's get that clear.
Right.
Secondly, was it that big of a deal that you needed to go on that badly? Like, I'm
Right.
just asking,
It's a parking spot.
is there anything else? Is there something else? I'm just offering an ear. And she turned around and she started to cry. And she reached out and she hugged me. And she said, "Today marks the day of the death of my mother a year ago."
Oh.
And so she was so just distraught. Everything that was coming across her path was just making her mad. Anything that looked like it was that bad, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, she was making mountains out of molehills. And so what I try to teach my children, and it makes me a better person too, because it reinforces these things to me every time I try to teach them that, or every time I teach them something, that just be good. Just live good, because tomorrow's not promised. Like, look at Kobe, Ariana, Gianna, and the other friends and family
7
that
people.
was lost.
Yep.
Like, today, you can walk up the door. I can get off the phone with you and go drive my car. I'm going to take my dog to the vet. I don't know if I'll talk to you again. It's those are the things that I try to make them understand. So live right. If you want to do something,
when you lose a loved one, it makes those things more intense. When you lose a loved one, especially when you lose a loved one at a young age, because my sister passed away at 39. I think she was like 7 years older than me. But when you lose someone, it shifts how you view life. It shifts the importance of things. And many people are not as, I'm going to say, what's the word I'm looking for right now? Many people don't take it to the level that we have to say, let's inspire with this. Let's do larger things with this. Let's make a difference, no matter what level it's on. There are some people that do become bitter with it and angry, and everything becomes bad. But I definitely feel like when you lose a loved one, it forces you to value life more. It forces you to live more on purpose.
It definitely does. And I really believe that our purpose, and those who are out there making changes in the world and continuously pushing forward to make change, we all have a purpose. But I think we have to have gone through our negative experiences, our struggles, multiple times in order to fully realize what our true potential and our true purpose was. And our true purpose has come out because of all that we've gone through. And everybody has a purpose. It's just perhaps it's not their time yet to be doing what others are doing.
Right.
But I really feel like it's my time. I feel it's your time to share what we know and to make the change in the world that we're doing. And speaking to me, getting my story out there, it will change somebody's life, because they'll hear it and say, "Oh my, I need to do something different. Oh my, I need to get checked. Oh my, I need to go and talk to this family member that I haven't spoken to in so many years because I don't know what's going on in her life." And doing what you do, reaching out to me, you reaching out to all the other women that you've spoken about and telling their stories, like that is our purpose, get their information out there in order to change the world in a better way, little by little.
Absolutely. I always say, like, the smallest thing can mean the world of difference to someone else.
Yeah.
And just by having these conversations and getting your stories out there, like you said, the impact that has, whether I see the impact immediately or not, but knowing that the ripple effect that it has, even if it's just from one woman hearing your story and what she decides to do with it, with her life, right? Those are the things that make me feel good. Those are the things that help me sleep at night.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That is why I'm so grateful to you for coming on. And with everything that you do as a change maker, I would love to know, what does your self-care routine look like?
Oh, my self-care routine. Well, I sacrifice a lot so that I don't, we're in this work to live world where we work so much and so hard that we forget about, or we don't have time for, our loved ones and those who really need it, need the support, need the care. And life is too short for that. And after 2016, when my breast cancer came back the third time, I was like, you know what? I don't need to work full time. I worked full time because I was this woman that was just such a go-getter, and I've been working since I was 13, and I have all these certifications and diplomas behind me, and I have to do this. And I realized that, you know what, Natalie, you don't have to. Right. You need to spend time on the things that you need to spend time on, the people that mean more to you, the people that mean a lot to you. Do the things that is gonna make change. And so I work 3 days, and I spend the other days of the week, like I said when I talked to you this morning, I spend it on things that I love to do. If I want to travel, I travel. If I'm going to go away for the weekend with one of my children for their sports activities, I'm gone. I don't stress myself out about things that I don't need to stress out about, because at the end of the day, what will be will be,
Right.
So you can't stress about it and make yourself, what's the sense in making yourself sick over something and then you're not here for it anyways?
Right. There's a lot of things that we stress about that we have no control over.
Right. So why make yourself ill? Why stress about it when if you can't actually make the change? There's only one person that can make that change.
Right.
And God will put in front of you and He will help you achieve what you need to achieve. But if it doesn't need to be done and it's not that important in your life, He's going to make it known too. He's going to make it known as well. So I just like to really chill, enjoy my life one day at a time. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't kind of life. That's just how I am.
I love it.
Just easy.
I love it.
What you see is what you get. Very transparent.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So there's a question that I love to ask all the women that come on the show. And I might already know the answer to your question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So I came across this Reader's Digest article that basically says that your favorite type of shoe says a lot about your personality. And I like to ask everyone that comes on the show, what is your favorite type of shoe? Is it like a boot, a stiletto, a pump, a running shoe, a flat, a flip-flop? What's your favorite type of shoe?
Red bottoms. Okay, well, I love stilettos, and I'm not just saying that just because I am a platform heel, 4-inch heel type of woman.
Okay.
And so I love my heels. I do love boots. Fall time in the fall, I do love to wear but I love a stiletto. They got to be a stiletto boot. I love my heels.
Okay, so
I just feel I feel really strong and powerful in them.
I get it. So it says women in flashy stilettos work hard and have excellent taste. They have major drive, determination, and standout work ethic. This is someone who says yes before she says no. She's very willing and very open to possibilities. She also really loves and values beauty, so she surrounds herself with beauty, whether it be in things, people, or how she lives. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just needs to be pleasing to the eye.
Oh, wow.
Does that have Natalie
written beside it? Does it say Natalie Wilson written beside it?
You see, I told you, it's been pretty on point.
Oh my gosh, to the T.
I love it. I love it. So before we go to the final segment, no problem. Tell the people where they can stay connected with you online.
Okay. Instagram is, like everybody else's baby. That's where you'll find everything about what's happening, whether it's an event I'm doing, an event I'm speaking at, if it's a photo shoot that I've done, if it's a TV interview, whatever it is. If you want to know what's happening and be in the know with Natalie and High Heal Diaries, you'll find it on my Instagram platform. And everything is found under High Heal Diaries. And don't forget, it's HIGHHEAL for healing, and then diaries. My Facebook platform, you'll find the same thing, sometimes a little bit more on there. Same thing, High Heal Diaries. My YouTube channel, that's where you'll find my interviews for my YouTube talk show that I do with women here in my High Heal Diaries studio. LinkedIn, I usually use that for a little bit more for business as far as other businesses that I offer, but some of the things I do with High Heal Diaries, you'll find there as well. And then my website, please go to my website. I just had it revamped and it's fabulous. You'll see a lot of candidates and information links, resource links there as well. highheeldiaries.com.
Awesome.
Where you find me. I write stories, and so you will find any of the stories that are written on my website as well.
Awesome. So I will have the links to all of your socials in the details section of your episode, so they can just click right there and connect with you directly. They don't have to search too far.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And for the final segment of the show, I call it a walk in her wisdom, which is just some quick reflection questions. And you say the first thing that comes to mind. Name one of the most worthwhile investments you've ever made. And that could be money, time, energy.
The investment into my Walk a Mile in My Shoes event that I do every year.
Love it.
Definitely that. Because it brings so much awareness and attention to what I do on a whole. And everybody is supported. Yeah, I love it.
Love it. Okay. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say and why?
It would say that strength doesn't come from what you can do. Strength comes from overcoming the things that you thought you couldn't.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's
that.
I think I live by that.
I definitely love that. What new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life in the last 5 years?
Being honest with myself about my purpose, just being honest, because I find that without honesty, you're really not going to find your true self. You have to be honest with yourself before you can dare help other people. So just being very open and forthright about my own personal struggles has really helped me.
I think that's so big because there's so many people that are not being honest with themselves. So I think that is big.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Wow. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
For having me. It was a blessing being on the show. And I appreciate the fact that, you sought me out and we've had this conversation, and you just never know who you're going to come across in life. That's why I always think it's important to make sure you have your best stilettos on.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And to all of you faith walkers out there, until next time, subscribe on all platforms and make sure you go to Apple Podcast and rate the show and leave a review, and join the community of faith walkers and sign up for our weekly newsletter at awalkinmystilettos.com and grab one of my personal development books available online everywhere. And if you can think of one person that would receive value from Natalie's testimony, please share this episode with them. Take a screenshot of this week's episode and tag us on Instagram at High Heal Diaries and at The Real McKinney Smith, and continue to walk in greatness in your stilettos in a manner worthy of your calling.